Salil, thank you so much for joining me on the couch today.
My pleasure.
I have to ask you first of all, top line, what does that mean?
That means I connect the dots between the business and the IT, and all across the business streams and as well in the IT streams. Like there are different silos across business and the IT, so it's all connecting the dots between them and presenting a picture which is much more applicable to the business and that sort of thing.
Well, we're here at Cloud World,
Yeah.
and I think, I guess then you kind of straddle the tech world and the communications IT world, well, non-IT is the IT
Yeah.
versus IT, isn't it? Do those two things rub up against each other a lot in your world? Do you find that as one of the stresses that you deal with?
I think that's the part and parcel of day-to-day life in terms of if you're getting into an IT world and you have to work it out with the business. The IT only exists because there's business looking for something. It's a support function. So I take it more as a kind of a business as being we are the seller for them and they are going to give us money and we are going to do that. So it's a very key role in terms of that you have to work it out with business, what you're planning, what the business is doing and where they are planning to go and how you can support them, rather than IT coming in from a view of saying yes, there are things that are there in the market and let's force it on the business. So it's a value proposition for both of us, business as well as IT.
And one of the things we've been speaking about this morning is buzzwords, and they are a necessary evil in many respects. They give you a shorthand way of communicating with people that you work in the same sort of silo,
Yeah.
but do you find that they're becoming less of a barrier now? Do you think, I guess the language of technology is becoming more universal?
I think from a point of view of the social and the mobility side of things, since people are now much more aware of that, what's happening in the market and the social, the IT components that are coming in, the business also is getting aligned to that one. So there's less of the problem of the business the IT buzzwords. It's more of a problem of business words, which the IT needs to start now pick it up and come back to then in a capability-driven approach. We have been talking about SOA integration or mobile and those kind of things. Now I think it's time when we need to start speaking the business language or the business buzzwords.
That's interesting, the tables turn then, really.
Yeah, it is. I think that's the way it is now. In order to, and the way it is right now, the way the market is going and everything, it's better to do it from that point of view. Understand what business wants, rather than coming in from a point of view of this. And actually, it's more about seeing the value, where the actually business value lies in the business, and how can you bring that in. And key example being we've done it for internal communications, like as you were asking in terms of saying how are we using IT from a point of view for the business, assisting business in the world of social mobility and with the cloud coming in and everything. Our internal comms is spread like this, that we are now sending information to the business on their tablets or on their personal mobiles if they want to. So all our newsletters and the communications are being sent across from the cloud.
I remember a couple of years ago when the idea of BYOD started to really become popular. Business world started to want to bring their own devices, and IT infrastructure guys really resisted, right? And that seems to have changed now as well.
Has changed a little bit, and coming in from the overall, yes, it has changed a bit because all the conferences that are happening, all the spread out that's happening in terms of the products and the vendors and that sort of thing, they've started a similar kind of word in terms of that BYOD is not a challenge. But in terms of it's a challenge in terms of the setting of the policies and that sort of thing. But people bringing your own device, I think people are getting much more used to it, and they are embracing it I think that's where one of the examples is where businesses come forward with something or social team or the personal persona has come forward and said, we need a BYOD. IT, how can you react to it? So that's how IT has reacted to it and embraced that in a way that they're making it possible to bring have BYOD kind of thing.
And are the platform providers, are they making it easier as well? Is the technology becoming easier to integrate in, with people's own devices?
From a point of view of people own devices, it's the technology is getting it's a complex. From a technology, it's becoming easier. From a point of view of having policies, strategies around that, and expanding that in the business, that's becoming a little bit more challenging from an IS point of view. There are lots of providers that are there in the market, and you have lots of good comparisons and that sort of thing. So it's moving on pretty well in that aspect of things. It's getting that change aligned to the business.